Hello, I'm Anne Glover, the presiding member of South Australia's Child Development Council. As a professional working with children and young people, you'll have an important role to play in supporting their wellbeing and development. Over the course of your professional life, you'll meet many children and young people. As a group, you'll find that they are brimming with life and potential. You will also find a very diverse group, individuals who deal with life in a variety of ways, who are at different developmental stages and whose experience and behaviours are best understood in relation to their life conditions. More than 20% of South Australia's population comprises children and young people under 18 years of age. Some are living with disability, some in out-of-home care, and more than a quarter are estimated to be living in very disadvantaged economic circumstances. In recognition of the rights, development and well-being of young South Australians, the Parliament of South Australia passed the Children and Young People Oversight and Advocacy Bodies Act 2016. The Act established 4 key bodies: the Guardian for Children and Young People, the Child Death and Serious Injury Review Committee, the Commissioner for Children and Young People, and the Child Development Council. More recently, a 5th body, the Commissioner for Aboriginal Children and Young People, was established. Together, these bodies are required to provide oversight and advocacy to strengthen the development and well-being of all young South Australians. The key role of the Council is to develop and maintain an outcomes framework for children and young people. Why an outcomes framework? So that we know how young South Australians are faring, where there should be targeted efforts to improve their life conditions, and where policymakers and service providers can and should work together. If someone asked you how South Australia's children and young people were faring, what would you say? Would you say that overall our children and young people are doing well? Would you know in what areas they're faring best and worst, and who are the exceptions? What if that same person asks you, how do you know? Would you be looking at trends, or reflecting what you'd seen in the local media, or comparing their wellbeing and development to some national or international benchmarks? The framework provides for all South Australians the answer to these questions. With the answers, agencies, groups and professionals working with children and young people can develop the best policies, services and programs. The framework is organised around a Charter for Children and Young People, which has 20 essential life conditions. These are the life conditions that all children and young people in South Australia can and should have without discrimination. To develop the Charter, the Council invited a large group of children and young people to a Charter Summit to identify what matters to them and to tell us what having a good life is all about. The conditions represent the voices of children and young people and thus reflect what is important to them. Things like having a good home life, having support from trusted adults, being listened to, participating in decisions that affect them, the opportunity for a quality education and for employment, and, most importantly, being respected and valued. The first report card, How Are They Faring 2020, showed that most children and young people are faring well. However, the benefits of living in South Australia are not shared equally by all. Economic and social inequalities create outcome discrepancies, as does the generational disadvantage experienced by Aboriginal children and young people. Existing social, built environment and transport barriers create disparities for children and young people with disability, while children and young people in out-of-home or secure care face serious challenges. We all want to see children thrive, to see families grow and young people develop into happy, healthy adults. As a professional working with young people and their families, you can contribute. Becoming familiar with the framework, including the Charter in your work and the priorities raised in the annual report card, can help you contribute positively. If you work in the health sector, you can apply the framework and the Charter to improve outcomes by aligning your work to the framework indicators and to the identified priorities. If you work in early childhood, you can apply the framework and the Charter in your daily work by aligning the Charter to your curriculum. If you work in a school, you might emphasise the areas of concern as identified in the 2020 report card. If you would like further information about the Outcomes Framework or any aspect of it, please don't hesitate to contact the Council Secretariat.